Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I got out of this recently, and anyone who knows me, anyone who's ever listened to me knows, I'm not the biggest fan of Quentin Tarantino. I think he's a thief. I think he's a plagiarist. I think he is symptomatic of most of what is wrong in Hollywood and how it's okay to steal as long as you make it look really, really good. That said, I think the man is a great director. He has a great visual eye because of all of the thefts and the fact that he grew up watching videos and watching movies. He has a great eye, great camera work, steals his dialogue from real life, so it's not even much of writing dialogue. With Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think this is both an atypical and typical Quentin Tarantino movie. You have the rampant self-indulgence, both in the screenplay and in the filmmaking. So much of this movie could have been edited out and not to the detriment of the story at all. There are whole scenes where there's 5 minutes of nothing happening. It's just a character driving around and you're just looking at, hey look, it's 60s era Hollywood. This is Hollywood in the late 60s. And if you just make a fucking documentary then, if that's what you want to do. I actually want these characters to go somewhere. This isn't The Walking Dead where we have to see them actually in real time walk from one location to another. I don't need to see Brad Pitt driving the entire distance from Hollywood to the Valley. This is just asinine. The editor in me says there's no way this movie needs to be 3 goddamn hours long. But that's Quentin Tarantino. He's never learned how to edit himself. Like with Grindhouse. Well, specifically Death Proof, when he put the missing reel back in. First of all, the fact that he filmed the missing reel where Robert Rodriguez didn't, he actually just used that as a way to jump the plot around, brilliantly, I thought. But the fact that Tarantino put it back in because, quote, the footage was just too good to not be seen. Never let it be said the man does not have an ego about himself, whether it's deserved or not. But about this movie itself. Parts of it work quite well. It's obviously his love affair with old television, with old 60s era movies, with old Hollywood. It's also sort of telling in a Wild Bunch sort of way. You know how the Wild Bunch was this sort of Western, you've got all the modern civilization coming in, you've got laws, and you've got all these modern tropes, and you have these old West gunslingers and cowboys who can't really function in this new world. It's like a sea change, and that's what you've got here. You've got Hollywood is right on the verge of changing, and this is also contrasted against the hippie movement, which was going on at the same time. You need to be sort of television literate, 60s television literate, to get a lot of the references in this. I was actually shocked at how many references to old television were in this movie, and that's not a bad thing. And then he pretty faithfully recreates, but is legally distinct enough from some old 60s television shows that he wants his fictional characters to be in. But then you also have, there are too many characters in this, because there are whole swaths where one of the main characters will just not appear for a half hour of runtime. And then you say to yourself, oh, yeah, that's right, I forgot Brad Pitt does have a storyline in this, because he just vanished for a half hour for another character's story. Editing could solve that, where you intercut all of the different stories instead of we spend a half hour with this character and then a half hour with this character and then a half hour with this character sort of thing, which he doesn't literally do, but he's on the verge of that in this movie. Then you've got the typical Tarantino tropes, almost on a parody sort of level, like the foot fetish. There is so much foot fetishism in this, so many bare feet slapped up against windows and into frame and just centered in frame. I get it. He has a foot fetish. I don't understand it. Never understood the whole foot thing, but okay, that's your thing. Just make a fucking porno video at this point. Make a foot fetish porno video. Stop putting all of this crap in your movies. Just make a foot fetish porno video, Tarantino. Just do it. Some of the things that really do work in this movie, because there are things that I think work quite well. The chemistry between Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio is fantastic. And I actually like, and he does this quite well, I like the contrast between their relationship. Brad Pitt seems to be a genuine friend to Leonardo DiCaprio, Cliff to Rick, but Rick seems to see Cliff as sort of just a lackey that maybe he tends to like a lot. This is an uneven relationship. This is an uneven friendship. And I thought that was illustrated perfectly multiple times in this movie. But then again, other relationships he doesn't get right. Like Bruce Lee. He makes Bruce Lee into a braggart, a bully, and just full of stupid Hollywood machismo. And yes, to a degree, there are some people who say Bruce Lee was like that, but most people say he was nothing like the caricature that he is in this movie. The way Bruce Lee is portrayed in this movie is nothing short of a complete and utter caricature. And then you've got the whole Manson angle. Okay, Charles Manson, those couple of seconds you see him in the trailer, that's about all Charles Manson is in this movie. I do not think it's fair to say this is a Manson film movie, which a lot of places, especially in the advertising, listed this as. This was a Manson movie. It's not. The Manson family do play a part, then they come into a heavy part in the third act. Yes, Manson is not in this for more than maybe a minute, minute and a half. But then you also have what I think is the biggest cheat. Not that you're not allowed to make this cheat, but you have to earn it. And the cheat is this film is an alternate history. The same way Inglourious Basterds killed Hitler, which obviously is not the way that happened. This film says the Manson family was stopped by Cliff and Rick, and they never murdered Sharon Tate, which I guess then means Polanski never anally violates a drugged 13-year-old. Okay, that's a whole different thing. He takes an alternate path here, and leading up to this path, he almost in a Forensic Files or crime show sort of way. And then at 8:02, Sharon Tate and her party were at the restaurant, and she was feeling very melancholy. She had a bad feeling about tonight. Things like that, which are leading up to, but the Manson family didn't kill her. You have to earn that twist. And this movie didn't. It just took a hard right and then said, now you're supposed to accept this. This movie didn't earn it. Some movies earn a twist like that. This one does not. Tarantino is not nearly as smart as he thinks he is. I think Tarantino, this would be the ultimate challenge to him. I would want Quentin Tarantino to make a movie that has no homages, no references, nothing except pure originality and pure story. I don't think he could do it. As much as he lovingly recreated 1969 Hollywood down to the benches with the TV show ads and things on it, the man can't do anything original, and that's what I hate about him. At the same time, I love Jackie Brown, I love Reservoir Dogs for what they are, even though Reservoir Dogs is plagiarized City on Fire. Ringo Lam made that movie first, but just Quentin Tarantino happened to make it better. But just because you improve on something that you stole doesn't mean you didn't steal it. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is too long, it's self-indulgent, it's too full of itself, but there are positive elements to it. So I would say if you're a fan of 60s television, if you're a fan of the machinations that happen inside Hollywood, I would say go see this. If you're just a Tarantino fan, there's nothing I can say that's going to pull the blinders you have off of you. This isn't his worst movie.